Hey friends, it's Laura with Laura's Handmade Haven. Welcome or welcome back. I'm so glad you joined me today. We're continuing our Cozy Up October series using up some flannel scraps or some flannel yardage if you don't have scraps. And we're going to be creating another quick, fun, beginner-friendly project today that will hopefully help you use up some of your scraps, or maybe it'll inspire you to make a cute little project for an event coming up. So I am going to be using a couple supplies today that you may not have on hand. So look through your stash and see if you do. And if not, maybe you'll want to check out one of the links in the description box below and order the supplies that you need to make our fun fall pennant banner. To make the triangles easier for myself, I'm using the Holt Tall Triangle Ruler by Riley Blake Designs. And I have already cut out my interfacing. So that is something that you'll want to gather up is some interfacing. This ruler, if you don't have one, you can honestly, print out a very tall triangle and you'll be fine. But if you do want something quick and easy, check out this tall triangle ruler. And then another thing that you may not have on hand that you will want to gather is just some ribbon. Now I'm going to be using this fun fall ribbon, and yes, it's kind of one of those canvas ribbons, so it may not be one that you necessarily thought about using initially for a craft project, but believe me, this is going to come together really quickly and easy and really fun. All right, so the other thing that I have on my craft table is just some flannel Halloween themed scraps. So I'm gonna swing you on down to the craft table so I can show you how I'm gonna be cutting out all my triangles, and then we'll talk about putting them together and getting our pennant banner put together. And then as always, at the end, we'll have a wrap up where we reveal our final project and we'll talk through a few modifications that you could make on your project coming up. On the craft table, I do have all that interfacing cut out already, and I have basically one piece of interfacing for each pennant that I plan on making for my banner. I have 13 pieces cut out because I'm going to be making a Halloween banner, and what other number would be as fun as 13 to signify Halloween? All right, so I do have 3 different Halloween themed flannels on my table, and I will say the little pumpkins are definitely directional, so I'll be paying attention to those. So when I think about the number 13, I'm going to need 13 pennants, and I need a front and a back to these. So I'm going to be cutting out 4 pennants each of the fabrics, and then I'm going to pick one of them to cut out as 5, and that's going to get me my 13. All right, so let's just go ahead and unfold and refold the first fabric, which is this cute little Halloween themed orange owls and moons. Now, this really isn't directional, so I am going to go ahead and fold this over. So when I cut this out, I have 4 layers, which would get me 2 pennants each. And I think I'm going to try to do the black as the one to do 5 pennants with. So I think that I'm just going to leave this the way it is. All right, so I'm just going to lay my triangle on my fabric. And you want to be kind of close to on grain, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to be putting these together in small little segments. So if you're not completely on the grain, then you'll still be okay. Now, I didn't cut this tip off up here, and I'll show you why right now. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And this is my scrap to go away. And then I'll cut up this side. And then I'll cut across. Whoops, careful not to move your ruler. And no, I would not cut like this if I wasn't on camera because it's not safe. So don't do that. But just know that I would not do that if I was not on camera. All right, so now I have 4 of these, and I'll put those over to the side. And this fabric can go back into the tote of scraps. So I go ahead and fold it up real quick. And we're going to grab our pumpkins. Now our pumpkins, like I said, are directional. So I do need to be careful with them because I can't I can only cut my triangles one way on this fabric, because if I put it the other way, my pumpkins will all be upside down, and I don't want that. So when I think about my pennant would be going this way with the wide part on top and the skinny part on the bottom. So I'm just going to go as close to the edge as I can. Like I said, I can't cut the other direction because my pumpkins would be upside down, and that's no good. And that's why I cut the wrong way on camera, because I'm sure that I just blocked you when I moved around like that. All right, so I'm just going to move this down, and I'll cut here to get my second pennant. And remember, I want 4 of these, so I do have some more cutting to do for the little pumpkins. These are big enough scraps for other projects, but I'm honestly just not going to keep them. So just, you know. But if there are other things that you're doing that you need smaller scraps, then obviously keep your scraps. I'm just at the point that I don't really want to do that anymore with any of these flannels. Now this one is wide enough that I am going to go ahead and fold it over. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is just a very easy zigzag stitch just to hold my layers together. I am not going to worry about the raw edges on this because chances are I'm not going to wash this. And if I did, then the edges would fray and it would still be super cute. I'm gonna run a zigzag down and up the 2 longer sides with the 3 layers together. So I do have my interfacing in the middle. So I'm going to start in just about a 1/2 inch from the edge because I want this upper edge to be open, and you'll find out in just a little bit why. So I'm just going to start with a stay stitch, and I just do have this on a default setting for my zigzag. Now, if you haven't watched my videos before, I am using a Juki DX7. It came with this really nice extension table. This is some washi tape that I use for my seam guide. And if you're interested in how I do that, I do have a video on the channel that discusses using the washi tape as a seam guide. All right, so this is really all that there is to do for this first step. Again, I'm going to stop about a 1/2 inch from the edge, and I am just going to sew off this edge onto the next triangle. I'm going to go ahead and show you one more just to show you how you can chain piece these. But then after that, I'm going to get the rest of them done, and I'll move on to the next step for you. Now that I have all the pennants sewn together, I'm going to sew them onto the ribbon. So I'm going to swing you back down to the sewing machine so you can see how I'm going to do this, and we'll talk through measurements and things like that. All right, so I am using this ribbon. Like I said, it's like a decorative fall ribbon. I think I had it at Hobby Lobby. It could have been, honestly, it could have been Joann's back in the day when there was a Joann's. I still miss them. So I want this to be able to like be tied onto something or at least draped a little bit. So I'm actually going to leave about, 36 inches probably before I start my first little pennant. So right there, let's put a little pin there just so I don't lose it. So I'm just going to take my first pennant, and I'm going to put these in order because remember I have the black. I have more of the black than the other ones. So I'm going to go black, orange, and white, as this is like the white background. And what I'm going to do is just take my first little pennant, And I'm going to stick the ribbon between the layers. So now the pennant is going to be on top and behind this both. And then I'm going to do that same zigzag stitch right at the top, but I'm going to go ahead and do a little reverse stitch here to hold it. And keeping that ribbon inside the layer, I'm just going to zigzag right on across. And that's going to secure my pennant onto the ribbon. And that is exactly what I'm going to do for all of these. Here's my next one. Again, I left that little bit of room at the top so I can put that in there. And let's see, let's move that over just a little bit. I'm going to continue to do this with all of the pennants all the way down the ribbon until I get to the other end. All right, here's the last pennant that we have to put on. I've just been going around, going on down the line with them all. Now we're going to measure this out. So we have a, sorry about that. To measure this out. So we have another 36 inches or so at the other end of our banner. What's really fun about our banner is that it is reversible since we have that cute little flannel on both sides. This is the side, the front that I sewed onto, and this lower one is actually the back. So it's reversible, both sides are super cute. It's an amazing little quick and easy decoration that you can whip up with some scraps. So even if I didn't have flannel that was big enough for this entire triangle, I could have definitely pieced some different flannels together and made this more like a quilty type banner. That would be a super cute idea. If you wanted to be a little extra with your banner, you could definitely use some heat transfer vinyl and spell out a word on the different pennants as you go across, or maybe you have like little different shapes and things that you would put on them. That'd be another really cute decoration to add to any banner that you put together. Just, you know, use your imagination. If you don't have ribbon like this, or if you don't want to use ribbon like this, maybe you can use some 2.5 inch strips and make yourself like a little bias tape for a nice little finished edge at the top of your banner. That would be super cute as well. If you want to take all the sewing out of that, that is totally possible. You can definitely get like some Wonder Under or some fusible interfacing that is fusible on both sides, like the Wonder Under. And you could just fuse these together with your iron, and then you could hot glue them onto a ribbon or a band or a piece of fabric for that top ribbon. So there's definitely more than just this one way to create this sweet little holiday pennant banner. I hope it inspires you to look through your scraps and think about what you have on hand and think about a fun thing to celebrate that's coming up. So obviously we have Halloween this month, and we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, we have New Year's. There's lots of things coming up that I'm sure you could make a fun little banner to celebrate. And so until next time, I hope you find joy in all you do. Carve out some time for crafting and creating, and remember, it's always better when you make stuff up.